I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to announce, major spoiler alert, we are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 8 of the What If series. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney+, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
Joining with me to break down everything from Season 2, Episode 8 of the What If series, it's Johnny Rico!
Hey.
Hey.
How we doing?
We're doing good. This was... We're in it now. We're in the end game now.
We're in the end game now.
Boom, we're going. We're off the race.
Yeah.
Off the races.
We're coming to the end of this season. Which we can officially say, right? We know that there's a season 3, so it's not like we're coming to the end of the series. We're coming to the end of the season, which is nice. Sometimes when we record these recaps and we start getting to the end, we don't know for sure if there's more. We hope there is, but we don't always know. And I'm happy. I'm happy that we know, because this has been a lot of fun, as I've kind of been saying a lot of times in a lot of these recap videos for season 2. This has been a lot of fun, and I really hope they keep it going and keep exploring a bunch of ideas, because it's fun. It's fun to watch these. It's fun to it gets you having conversations about goofy stuff. It's just fun. It's fun. But yeah, I fully enjoyed this episode. I do have to say, there's a couple of small moments from this episode that I really, really liked. And one of them, the first one that I had to point out, was I loved Peggy Carter breaking the fourth wall and just going, I can hear you, right? To the watcher.
I can hear you,
Wait, really? You can?
He's just sitting there narrating, and she just all of a sudden just says it. She doesn't even look at him. She just starts saying, I can hear you, right? And then turns around. It was an unexpected fourth wall break, and I really appreciated it. It was just one of those things. But yeah, there's plenty more I want to get into in takeaways and stuff like that. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions from this episode?
Yeah, this was pretty much a good part 1, I would say, to what feels like a 2-part finale. Yeah. The first thing I love about this is obviously being that it's set in 1602. It's obviously a nod to Marvel 1602, which is a Neil Gaiman comic that came out a while back, which kind of has a similar premise. You have the heroes of the Marvel universe kind of taken back to the Shakespearean era, and and there's the whole idea of the Forerunner, and I think in the comic it also is Steve, in the episode, which I think is really cool. Yeah, so I think it's a really cool way how they were able to take elements of the comic and weave it into the MCU storyline in a way that makes a lot of sense, by using a character like Captain Carter. And I gotta say, for what it's worth, you got kind of what you asked for with you got a super soldier Captain Carter and a super soldier Captain America kind of fighting side by side, and it made for, again, some really compelling storytelling as well, because again, I think throughout the entire MCU, the story of Steve and Peggy has always been one of the more compelling romances that they've always thrown at us. And it's kind of cool when we get to see kind of more of that, because we always got glimpses of it in the main MCU, and that's what made us love it. But you always felt like we were robbed of kind of getting to see them kind of do a lot more together. And this show is a great way of doing that, whether it's Captain Carter and Skinny Steve, the Hydra Stomper, or this version of Steve, which I really liked how they play off of some of the stuff in Endgame, when Steve asked Peggy to tell him a little bit about her Steve. He's like, no, I don't think I will, which is what the old Steve says to Falcon at the end of Endgame. So I'm like, oh man, they really do a great job of small little nods like that, and it just kind of makes the storytelling a lot more rich, in my opinion.
And I don't know what the exact line that Peggy Carter says, but she at the end of this episode says, "We never end up together," right? It's something to that effect. She says that to him right before he presses.
Yeah, and
the
then
button.
say, hopefully there's a scenario where we do, and of course we know that that's
Yeah.
true, of course, which is great. And then I
Yeah.
also love how they wait till the end of this episode to reveal kind of like the big, kind of like the Nexus event, I guess you should say, of what causes this timeline to
Yeah.
branch off, and it's from Infinity War, during that whole scene where he had finally Thanos arrives on Earth, and Steve takes the fight to him, but he strikes his shield on the time stone, and then boom, here we are. So I really like that overall premise setting for the story as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really liked this episode, and what I do have to say is this is one of those episodes where I do wish we kind of would have been able to explore more of it, type of thing. Like it, I mean, it's the same amount of time as all of these episodes have been, but it was just one of those things where like I would have liked to have seen all of the characters interact a little bit more. Like we kind of just get thrown in really quick, and we have to forward the plot because
Got to breeze through a lot of interactions really quickly. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's some interactions there that I'd like to see expanded on. I'd like to see, just how, like, I want to know like what 1602 Tony Stark is doing, because obviously he knows technology, but he's not like, I guess, steam powered Iron Man or anything, because he doesn't have that kind of stuff, but he was able to come up with something within a day of like figuring out what the parameters needed to be for it to figure something out. So there's a lot of stuff in this that I would have liked to seen kind of expanded on, because it would be really interesting.
Yeah, Thor, Hela, and Loki were like all like
Yeah.
united basically, because he was like really upset that Hela was gone at the beginning of the episode. So like, okay, that's interesting. They have like a good relationship. So yeah,
Right.
let's do more of that.
Yeah, exactly. There's so
Yeah.
much from this episode that they could have expanded on and made this like longer, and even just like this snapshot, like made it an hour long and made it like something like that. But you ready to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways. I have to say this. No matter what the time period is, Ant-Man's always going to be Ant-Man, and that's why he's right here. I love Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, and that
is great.
Yeah, his humor as Ant-Man has always worked for me. It's always hit. No matter what movie, and whatever the overall consensus is of how well that movie is or anything, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is always just it's always made me laugh. But what I did notice during the credits of this, which was really cool, is we almost had the entire cast voicing their actual roles.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it. There was only, I think, 3 in this that weren't the actual like main MCU actors, and I think it was we had a voice actor for Tony Stark, we had a voice actor for Captain America, Chris, and we had a voice actor for, I don't remember who. There's one more. It might have been Natasha, but
yeah. She always had. It's always been Lake Bell who.
That's it.
Her.
Yeah, that's it. So that was the 3. Everyone else was
Mm-hmm.
the MCU actor, and I thought that was amazing, because we even had we had Chris Hemsworth, we had Tom Hiddleston as Loki, like awesome. But yeah, so it was just really cool to actually hear all of these actors back together, which they probably haven't all been back together since Endgame, but like some of these actors weren't even in Endgame. Like
the ones that impressed me the most are like getting Kate Blanchett back for Hela. Exactly. I would say is a big one. I would say like Iron Man, Cap, and Natasha are the ones that are probably the like you kind of see it coming, because they're the ones that are already kind of like the most separated from the MCU after like Endgame, I would say. But everyone else, I think, for the most part, is still pretty active, if I'm not mistaken. So you can still convince them to come in and do some studio work, and then you're even getting like Brolin back as Thanos in some of these. Is a lot of like the fun to hear, and it's really a lot of fun when you can recognize the voice behind the character, and you're like, that's definitely the person.
right, exactly. And so I do have to say this. I have a favorite line from this episode, and look. The Peggy Carter breaking the fourth wall was hilarious and probably one of my favorite moments of the season. But my favorite line is
Hulk smash thee!
Like that.
Yeah, that is about it. Yeah, that's Marvel Shakespeare at its top, at its most right there.
I don't know why made me laugh so much. But as soon as he did it, I started laughing. I was like, "Yep, this is happening. This is what I wanted. This is everything I wanted." But Rico, what were some of your takeaways from this episode?
Yes. So speaking of Hulk, but when we first see Bruce in the little dungeon, by the way, I think that they knew exactly what they were doing when they had him in a cloak and a Mark One Iron Mask, kind of being like, "No, get away from me! I'm a monster." Like they're totally doing like a total like if you're a fan of Doctor Doom at all, or you know who Doctor Doom is, you know how that looks exactly like Doctor Doom a little bit. And I just feel like that's just kind of like their subtle like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like he's coming, right? Like here, we know you're gonna make the comparison because he's coming. And with everything going on with the whole Kang stuff right now, and the idea of Doom just kind of taking over as the next villain in the MCU, like I'm here for it and I'm ready for it. I've been talking about the last few episodes. I want Fantastic Four, but like most importantly, I want Doom. Because it's just he's such a fascinating character who really has yet to be done justice on the screen. And just the fact that they did that little shot in that episode for me was just like, oh come on, man, just like hurry up and get on with it already. But yeah, that's really the big takeaway I really wanted to talk about. Like that that's definitely them doing some Doom foreshadowing, and I'm freaking excited.
They're playing with our emotions at this
They really
point. But you want to get to some predictions?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay, so this is interesting because so we end the episode. Captain Carter saves the 1602 world by sending Cap back basically, and it's a touching scene where she's kind of fighting the urge to send him back because she doesn't want to lose Steve again. Of course, it's something that she has to do, and it just makes a lot of sense. So of course she does it. And she's still stuck in 1602. She's out there having a drink, and who comes back and visits her? Doctor Strange. Hey, look who's back! It's our friend Strange Supreme. They share a drink. He does the drink refill trick on her, and he starts laying the groundwork for what we're going to see in the next episode, right? So obviously we got to look forward to what's going to happen there with her, and obviously with the fact that he came to Kahori at the end of that episode. We just got to see how that all plays out, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that because it's basically like we've got the same tease twice. We had it with Kahori and we had it with Captain Carter in this one type of thing. So we kind of had that. So we know that Strange is up to something. And the fact that he's either not on the radar of the Watcher, or he's pulling people away from the Watcher, is interesting. We're gonna have some kind of showdown for the finale, and I'm interested to see how things are going to shake out and stuff like that. One thing that I wanted to talk about in predictions, because we're one episode away. Like, we obviously know something's about to come to a head. It's going to be a pretty big thing, obviously, because we don't know how Strange got out of where he was holding everything together. Like, all of that kind of stuff has to be answered in the finale. Obviously something big has to have pulled him away from that. But one thing I had said it, and we were talking about it before we started recording. I think I was talking about it in episode 2 when we were talking about the other group that came together to kind of stop Peter Quill and Ego. Yeah. After seeing this episode, I'm gonna bring it up again. I would really like to see different divisions of What If that could run. Like maybe we have season 3 of What If everything, and then we have like a specialized What If that has like different seasons too. What If Avengers would be interesting because we could get more episodes on that 80s team up. We could get more episodes on the 1602 Avengers. We could get more episodes on like maybe a Cosmic Avengers type of thing. Like, I think that would be really interesting, and it wouldn't take away from this main what we have building, I guess, throughout the season 1 and season 2 of this main What If. It would just be like a branch off of that. And it would be like, okay, this is going to be What If : Avengers type of thing. And it would just be different kind of things of the Avengers and stuff like that, or different questions and stuff like that. Because there's always all these other questions about Avengers, even ones that we did have in our main MCU timeline. Like, I know one of the questions that's been asked, I see it in a bunch of videos, is what if Thanos attacked during the first Avengers movie instead of during Infinity War type of thing and stuff like that. So like, there's a lot of questions you could ask, but also I just think it'd be really interesting to see Avengers in different timelines. Like the 1602 thing, like we could get another episode of that. and we could get the 80s team up. We could get like, you know what I mean? And I was throwing this out as a joke, but we could even get like the prehistoric Avengers type of thing.
Mhm.
Just different versions of the Avengers or answering little differences and different questions and stuff like that. I think it'd be really cool. And it's just, this episode just made me think of that again. Like, I know I brought it, like I said, I brought it up in when we were doing episode 2 recap, but this episode just got the gears turning again about that. Like how cool that would be as like a different version of like What If. But yeah, I mean, it's just fun. I like What If. And I'm sad to see it go after this, for this next episode. Like, I'm excited for the next episode. I'm just sad to see it go so soon. I feel like it was so fast. Oh God.
It was.
Already. Oh God.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 8? And what do you think is going to happen in the season finale? As I said before, we can luckily say this is the season 2 finale, not the series finale, because we already know there's going to be a season 3. I cannot wait. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.